out of it. Now, they're talking about you possibly fighting TJ Dillashaw for the bantamweight title.
Yeah.
I mean, there's talk. You know, you just hesitated and you're like, yeah. There's negotiations.
There's beef behind that. It's not just talk. He wants it. We want it.
Yeah, no, I'm sure. Where's that at right now? Because there's going to be a card in January out here. It's just announced.
Oh, what date was that?
It's the same night as the Fedor-Ryan Bader fight, which pisses me off because I wanted to go see that fight.
Yeah.
January 26th.
Yeah, that fight's going to be at the Forum, and the UFC fight, I think, is at the Staples Center. Or maybe Anaheim. Anaheim? Anaheim. Anaheim in the Pond.
Oh, okay.
Both here.
Wow. Both here in California. Well, there's 20 million motherfuckers in California. Plenty of people to go around in terms of audience.
Yeah, we've I think there's been talks, but it's been I don't think Ali, my manager, has really truly like actually sat down and talked with the UFC. And I think everybody wants to do it though.
Well, it's one of two things is going to happen there, right? It's either now the DJ has gone to one. Demetrious Johnson just left the UFC and went over to ONE FC. ONE FC, for people who have no idea what we're talking about, is a gigantic organization in Asia. They are literally the equivalent to the UFC in Asia. And although many people in America are not aware of them, they don't know who they are, they're a huge organization overseas. Absolutely gigantic. And they do a fantastic job. They have real high-level fighters. Ben Askren was their champion. He was undefeated over there, and he had, I think, at least one fight, maybe two fights left in his contract. I forget how many. And they made a deal. And the deal was they take Mighty Mouse, and we get Ben Askren. And so that's where it's at right now. I love the deal. I love it. I love the idea of it. I mean, I feel like Mighty Mouse, you know, he loves the idea of starting new in a new organization, and, you know, they're going to pay that motherfucker. Pay.
Nice.
Yeah.
All these flyweights need to get paid.
Exactly. And he also likes the mentality that that organization is operated with, which is respect for the martial arts. They're not into this. You know, what we saw with the Conor McGregor, Khabib Nurmagomedov fight, all the trash talking and all the stuff that you're seeing that was becoming more and more prevalent in the UFC, you don't see that at all at ONE FC. And that's something that Mighty Mouse is very happy about.
Yeah, I think congratulations to Ben Askren. I think he's...
Everybody's in trouble.
Yeah.
A lot of motherfuckers are in trouble when Ben Askren gets a hold of you. You're like, why can't I get up?
Yeah, Ben Askren's one of those guys that he's a very confident, he's a very dangerous human being because he knows that. He's going to be very confident about it. And I've always told people, I says, hey, dude, maybe the best in the world is not in the UFC, man. There's some dude by the name of Ben Askren. We've been singing his praises for years. That will take, people think Khabib's control is good up top. You wait till you get a 4-time NCAA finalist, 2-time NCAA champ on top of you.
And 2008 Olympian, his teammate.
Yeah, and Olympian. I mean, the dude is he's a bad matchup for anybody, Joe. Anybody.
No, Ben Askren, I mean, there's a reason why he's undefeated, and he hasn't been hit in several fights. He was detailing when the last time he got hit. You know, I had him on the podcast because I wanted to let people know about him. I mean, I've been a big fan of Ben Askren's from back when he was a Bellator champion. And if you watch his fights in Bellator against Koreskov and Lima, Lima's a beast, man. And he just dominated him. Lima fucks people up, man. Lima's a dangerous, dangerous cat. Very. And Ben Askren just, whoop, oh, you're on your back again. Look at that. Yeah. You can't get up, and you're taking punches. You know, and he's just a different caliber of wrestling. And I've said it many, many times, and I'm sure you believe it as well. It's the most important skill for MMA is wrestling. It dictates where the fight takes place. If you want to stand up, the guy can't take you down, Chuck Liddell style. And if you want to go to the ground, you're the one who gets to dictate where the fight takes place. If you're the superior wrestler, I mean, it's the best base for MMA. I really believe that.
And especially a guy like Ben, because I think Ben knows that his striking's not that good.
Right.
So he just relies on this is what I know. I do it better than anybody, and I'm gonna control you. And you're gonna know how I'm gonna do it. You know. So that's what That's what makes Ben Askren dangerous.
He's so dangerous. I mean, a real bad fight for him would be someone that can figure out how to keep it standing. Like Jay Heron gave him a real tough fight in Bellator because Jay Heron is a good wrestler and kept the fight standing.
Freepoint High School.
Yeah, I forget what his take on that fight was. We talked about it on the podcast, but I don't think he was too happy with his training for that fight. But you know, someone like Tyron Woodley, who's also a very good wrestler, who's a very dangerous striker, would be a tough matchup for him. But they're really close friends and training partners.
Yeah, well, this is another thing, too. On the flip side is, like, Tyron's been wrestling him for years, I think. Mm-hmm. So he knows what the Ben Askren experience is, you know, and that's scary.
Yeah.
I mean, people would be lucky to, you know, kind of take him down. If you really want to give it no takedowns, he just wouldn't let people take him down.
Yeah, Pettis was talking about it. You know, he was saying, listen, it was back when Pettis was the champ. He said, if I was forced to fight Ben Askren, he goes, it would be a fucking terrible fight for me. He's like, that guy just take me down and beat the shit out of me.
Yeah.
He's like, that's what he does.
If Ben was to win a belt, the 2008 Olympic team would have 5 belts. Henry gets 2, DC has 2. And Ben Askren would have 1. That's 5 UFC belts if he came into the UFC and won a belt, his teammates.
Well, they are going to open up eventually that 165-pound division, which is what Ben is shooting for. Ben would like that division, you know, and if he said that if, you know, he had 165 and Tyron kept the welterweight title, that would be great for him. I just don't see the UFC doing a 5-pound weight difference when all the other weight differences are so huge. I feel like the smart move would be 10 pounds every spot. 35, 45, 55, 65, 75. Like move 70 to 75. Like when the UFC had a light heavyweight division initially, the division was a 200-pound division. Mm-hmm. When Tito Ortiz first won it, I believe it was 200-pound division. And then they raised it up to 205. And I think and they needed a 195 too, I really believe, and probably a 225. You know, I think that would round it all out, which probably will all happen eventually.
Yeah, that's interesting to see how that unfolds. But as of now, it's Askren.
He's a beast.
Askren's going to be fighting for the belt pretty soon.
Well, he's calling out Darren Till. He wants to fight Darren Till,
of
which
course.
I love. I love that fight. That is a classic striker versus grappler matchup, especially after Tyron just smashed him. I mean, Tyron and the hype train. For Darren Till, we learned a lot about Darren. Darren is a sensational striker, very, very dangerous striker, but keeps his hands low, keeps his chin up high, and, you know, Tyron has proven himself to be really dangerous even against elite strikers. You know, you look at the Wonder Boy fights. I've said this time and time again. You look at those 2 fights. Wonder Boy is known as being one of the best strikers to ever compete in the UFC. He's got I think it was 57-0 as a kickboxer, something fucking spectacular
crazy.
like that. Yeah. Amazing striking skills, but yet Tyron hurt him in both fights. Both fights, Tyron was the one who landed big shots and had Wonder Boy badly hurt. And then you look at the same thing with Darren Till. Darren Till is known as being this unbelievable striker. Tyron clips him, drops him, and then strangles him. So, you know.
It all changes with MMA. These guys can be the best, even the best wrestlers. Like sometimes it doesn't translate to the sport. Like it takes a special somebody to adapt to the sport of MMA, not just the wrestler. Yep. And I think Tyron has adapted to his timing, to his right hand. You know, man, if you're able to take out 2 strikers like that, man, you're the real deal.
He's unquestionably the real deal. I'm fascinated to see whether or not Nurmagomedov and Ben Askren go at it. That to me, if I had a fight that I really, what are you saying? Floyd Mayweather?
I heard
what?
Floyd Mayweather's next for
Stop with all that nonsense.
That's just what we were talking about.
That is not going to happen.
He has the same agent.
Listen, that ain't gonna happen. But but Khabib is much more of a grappler than he is a striker. I mean, Conor is a striker. That sort of made sense.
If you want to talk about levels, I think Ben's. I think Ben's probably the better grappler.
Who the fuck knows? That's what I want to see.
No,
I want to see that fight.
There's levels. Like even though like they don't give black belts in wrestling, there's levels to that.
Yeah, there's levels.
And I think Ben Askren was one of the greatest folk style riders of all time. Like that's how dangerous he is. Yeah, he was putting the best kids in the world in pretzels and submissions. They just wouldn't get out of his He's like a boa constrictor.
Well, he's stunning in his ability to control guys. Like, you're like, what the fuck, man? Like, Koreshkov, I mean, and Lima are two great examples because you look at those guys in Bellator and they just smash people. But Koreshkov has one of the craziest spinning back kick knockouts I've ever seen in my life. He sent this dude flying through the air. Did you see that like a couple of fights ago?
The Grand Prix.
Yeah.
You see it?
Before
It's
the Grand Prix.
fucking nasty.
Yeah.
He hits this dude with a spinning back kick and literally like launches him into space and then smashes him when he goes down to the ground. I mean, you look at what Lima's been able to do to people. I mean, the Roy McDonald fight was a very close fight. Look at this. Watch this. Look at this. Boom!
Yeah.
I think I was at that
I mean,
fight.
he launched that dude.
Was that
Yeah.
in Boise?
I don't know
San
where that was.
Jose.
But so Koreshkov, you know, if you watch the Koreshkov fight with Ben Askren, and it's a mauling. It's just a guy just getting fucked up. That's what that fight is.
Oh God.
Ben Askren just dominated him, like absolutely dominated him. See, the dude tried to jump back and landed. It landed right as he was in the air. Ow,
Yeah.
Chihuahua.
Yeah, and no, and Ben,
Oh, you know what that was in Italy.
and this guy never got a punch off of Ben Askren.
It was
I mean,
it was
that's
a
just,
total domination. Same
it
as the
was-
Lima fight. Lima crushes people, man.
Yeah.
Lima's one of the scariest strikers. I mean, and he knocked out Koreshkov. I mean, Lima smashes people. But you see Lima against Ben Askren. I mean, obviously it was a younger Lima. I mean, he's got more experience now. But the difference was so stunning. What
Yeah.
is this?
This is Askren Lima.
No, it's not.
No.
No, those are two Chinese guys, bro.
What it says on top.
This is not Askren and Lima. You got to trust me. This is not Askren Lima either.
It's literally what the
Titled
video
it
title.
wrong.
I'm sure the video
I
is
said,
titled
Joe,
that, but
I
I'm
said,
telling
is Joe being a bully?
you gotta trust me. Those dudes are not the same guy.
Joe, you losing your patience, man.
Look at
There
this.
it is.
There it is,
Oh yeah.
man. I mean, just the way he manhandled them, like his wrestling is just. You see guys that are used to defending takedowns, and then they find themselves on their back, and you say, "Holy shit, man!"
I think he did get up kicked here, and his nose got broken.
Oh yeah, he got cracked. I mean, Lima's a fucking monster, man. He's
Yeah,
a super
really.
dangerous striker, and he's huge for the weight class. You stand next to Lima, you're like, Jesus, how do you make 170?
He does it in the jacuzzi at the hotel. I've seen him.
Yeah, no,
It's
he's
tough.
he's struggling to make that weight. He's a big guy. But anyway, point being, Ben Askren at 170, super interesting fight.